Skinny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Corrina.
Skinny, I want to start with your life here in Wilson. You were born in Wilson, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Okay. Who were your parents?
Well, my mother and dad was Ollie Monroe Stewart. And I've lived here, I guess, all my life, except for a while that I lived in Ardmore.
Okay, and your mother, what was your mother's name?
Her name was Kelly Mae Shaw.
Kelly Mae Shaw.
Yeah.
And let me see, do you remember, I think in visiting with you, you told me they were united in marriage at Bunker Hill here in the Wilson area?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where did your family live when they lived here in Wilson?
Well, my first knowledge was down on the end of East Main Street. Big pecan tree there, and it's still there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On East Main Street?
Yeah.
And, well, how many children were in your family, Skinny?
Oh, we had, in all, I had 3 sisters and then 4 brothers, 7 of them.
7 of you?
Yeah.
And, well, what were your typical day like in your household 50 years ago? Did you get up early? About what time did you get up?
Well, not 50 years ago, I was already...
Well, longer, when you was a child.
We had... now, I had 2 sisters already dead at that time. And the rest of us, the chores were delegated by Mother and Dad. And Gail was too little to do anything at that time, so she just sat in the window playing her piano. And
she liked that then.
Yeah, but my brother just older than me, he helped Mother in the house. And then my younger brother and myself, we did all the outside chores, the milking, feeding the hogs and chickens, getting up the eggs and everything. But that's about what it consisted of before we went to school.
What time did you get up in order to get all the chores done?
Oh, about 5:30. Yeah. Yeah, it was always early, and you didn't want to be called but once. If you did, then the belt come after you.
And I don't think, I know in my household we didn't. When our feet hit the floor, you put your clothes on. There wasn't any house shoes or robes. There wasn't any need.
You bet. Didn't have them, really.
No, we didn't. Mm-hmm. And, well, what type of breakfast? Was there any cold cereal at that time?
No way. We always had eggs and bacon, ham. We raised it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And gravy, and then occasionally we had oatmeal, you know. And most of our food that we ate was raised. And
with the gravy and biscuits, there wasn't any can popping at that time, was there?
No.
It was homemade from scratch.
That's right. You bet.
Well, on your chores at that time, how do you feel they've changed quite a bit in today's youth on those activities?
Well, you mean as far as the kids in town?
Yes.
I really don't know, Corrina. I would say that has changed quite a lot because you don't see many milk cows in town now, you know, so of course we had a little 5 acres out, you know, out of town there, so we're still in the city limits, but it's out of town. And I doubt if they do that kind of stuff anymore. Maybe the country kids do, you know, and but that's about what ours consisted of. There, you know, growing up, after I got up, about 12, 13 years old, well, my older brother and my brother just older than me, they'd worked in a dairy down there, Scott Blue's Dairy. And, of course, Forrest got out of school, and Junior went to work in the oil field. And so I took over their jobs at the dairy, and I was doing both of them. So,
there wasn't any spare time to get in trouble or anything?
None whatsoever.
That's
None whatsoever.
Well, what school did you attend? Did you attend South Ward?
Yeah, South Ward, and then, of course, junior high here at the high school. At that time, the high school and junior high was all together. Later on, they took the top floor off the old high school, and then they just had junior high and high. But yeah, I grade school over at South Ward, and we had the greatest bunch of teachers, I thought. I just fell in love with all of them, except the principal, Mr. Mays. He's a mean old man. I'll tell you, he had a board that he had holes bored in it, and when you went in there, you dreaded even going in there if it wasn't for that. But, I mean, he's a good old man, but he was mean.
Self-discipline.
When he says, well, he let you say what you want to say, but you knew that wasn't going to do any good. You know, you just felt like it. And when he said bend over the desk, he's left-handed, and about 6 foot, probably 3, had long arms. So when he pulled that paddle back, you know, it had a long way to get home. And you could hear that wind whistling through those holes, and you just scared to death.
You didn't want to go back again,
And I
right?
mean, he could hit you with it. And he did. There wasn't no child abuse law back then. Oh, he did.
You didn't want to go visit it again, did you?
No, you didn't want to. I had to several times, though. But I didn't
Wasn't
enjoy
your fault,
it.
though, Skinny, was it? It wasn't your fault.
Not really, not really.
Skinny, when you got in high school, knowing you were probably active in all the school activities.
No,
Because of your chores, probably.
no. I just athletics was all that I participated in.
Were you good in football or baseball or something?
Oh, they said I was, and I did very well. But we had a lot of good players at that time.
Skinny, at that time you went on. Wilson played Ardmore, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
And did you play Xanais? Did Xanais have a big football team at that time?
They did up through my junior year, and then they stopped playing football. But Xanais always had a good football team. You know, not at the last. They were pretty good, but there was a time, even before my time out there, that Xanais was as good as any team in that league. And one year there was a 3-way tie for the championship.
Oh, really?
Wilson, Fox, and Xanais.
Really?
That's right.
Well.
Yeah, they had some real good old Grady Worsham down here, good football player.
And was Maurice Epley?
Maurice Epley played at Wilson.
And the Tips boys?
They played at Xanais. Yeah, Tom and
Harold?
And, Junior and Harold and all those boys played at Xanais. Yeah. They had a player that went to Oklahoma State, Cecil Hankins. He was good at everything. He was a good basketball, track, football, just a good athlete.
Well,
Dundee even had some good football players over there. They had one of my idols, and I didn't know this until just the other day, and the Albright printed a picture of the old Dundee football team of way back, and Bob Seymour.
Oh, really?
He was fullback, Indian. And every time we played rough and tumble football out there at the house, but I was Bob Seymour. You bet. And
he was from Dundee.
yeah, he's from Dundee. We've been some good football players over in this part of, from Ardmore over.
Well, would you say that the sport of football was rougher and tougher during those days than it is now?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say it's any rougher and tougher. You know, it's all football. You know, you got to hit, you got to run, block and tackle.
So
They just got better equipment now. We had old leather helmets protecting our heads, and they've got plastic. Their shoulder pads and all their pads are plastic. Ours was kind of cardboardish, you know.
So more protection in today
Oh,
for
yeah, now
today's
they
youth.
do.
That's great. Well, Skinny, do you remember any funny incidents that happened in school or when you were playing football or practicing and some of your classmates?
My mother, she never wanted me to play football. And as a matter of fact, she never saw me but one time in football suit. I'd ask her to go to the game. She'd say, I'll just stay home and pray for you.
She's afraid her son would get hurt.
Yeah, now Daddy went. He started going after I started playing. But Forrest had already played 2 years before this. But she and another lady, this lady brought her down to the football field while we was practicing. And she needed to tell me something. And when she come in the gate, we were working on a goal line play. And I'd just taken the ball from the center and hit off tackle, and the pile started piling up. She looked at it, and here she comes. And she started helping getting them boys off me. And she says, Arthur, is that you? And she, you know, just like a mother would be.
She didn't want you to be on bottom.
Yeah. And she marched me out of that football field and told me to go to that dressing room and get my clothes on. She thought I was, you know, that was
hurting you.
Trying to, but
She didn't realize that was the sport.
That was part of it, yeah.
Well, was she usually at home, Skinny, when you get home in the evenings for what we call supper?
Yeah.
Well, I know she was a good cook.
She couldn't drive, and other people couldn't teach her to drive. She was too nervous about it. And Mother never learned to drive, so she just sat there. I mean, there was always something to do, and she was always doing something.
What were some of your big meals at supper time, what we call supper? What were some of the big meals she fixed?
Oh, this good, it might be beans, potatoes, cabbage. We ate good at our home. Just like during the Depression, see, when everything was really, really bad, Daddy worked every day, 12 hours a day for $1 a day. And we had these 2 tremendous gardens, and then 5 acres below that we grew other things in. And then we had those 3 cows, and they had calves, and of course we had milk, and then the chickens and eggs. And we had 4 or 5 families that we gave milk, butter, eggs, meat, vegetables to during that period of time. And yeah, it was, but I didn't know it, see. I was born 26, so through that area I was just a little kid, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And after that period was over, they could be talking about it and ask me, and I never knew a bad day in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew everybody was working hard, starting a family.
We were poor, but we didn't realize we were poor back then.
Mother would take all of us, after we get everything done, and we'd go pick cotton. We'd hoe in someone's field.
Don't you think we all picked cotton during those days and hoed?
Yeah.
And,
everybody was gay. She was the baby, see.
everybody but Gail.
Yeah,
so she played the piano.
Or sat on someone's cotton sack while they picked up. Yeah.
Well, Skinny, did your family have a vehicle at that time, and what was it?
Yeah, we had one. We had I believe that was Chevrolet, Corrina. Yeah. I believe that was Chevrolet. Yeah, I'm not sure it was. And we all enjoyed it, when we'd go on trip where we went. None of the boys were, at that time, could get the car.
Well, and quite a contrast from then and today. Today every family member has their own vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, if anyone owned a vehicle, it was one vehicle per family.
Yeah.
And the family went together.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And, well, do you remember how much gasoline was per gallon, and was it rationed during the war? Did you get in on any of the rationing?
Well, it was rationed, yeah. But gasoline was 10, 15 cents a gallon. Then even, it may have gone up 25 cents before the war started. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But then, it was rationed during that period of time. I'm not sure what all the letters meant, but some had A, some had B stamps, and you just got so much a week for your car. And in order to get a lot, you had to be pretty important or
have a reason,
have
like a special government job or something. Yeah. Serving the people.
That's right.
Skinny, did your family, didn't church play a big part in your family?
Yeah. Church played a big part, Corrina, in everybody's family back then.
Quite different from today's society, right?
It was nothing for us to have 300 people in church and Sunday school down at the Assembly of God. The Baptists had big attendance. The Methodists were not quite as big at that time, but they had good crowds too. Everybody had big crowds.
Sunday
all
morning,
the children
Sunday night,
were in
Wednesday
school.
night.
In Sunday school, church. They learned things in church that you don't learn watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sad that more mothers and fathers don't take their, at least expose them
Mm-hmm.
to that
Training.
way of life. A child that goes to Sunday school and church, they develop a good conscience. And if they were to take something that belonged to someone else, they'd be easy caught because it hurts. It hurts them to do that.
And
they're always looking for someone to...
And the love, Skinny, that when you went to church and when they would have revivals, all the churches would turn out for that one revival in town, and everybody would go to that revival. and the love that was shown for your fellow man, your neighbor.
Yeah.
Don't you find that missing in today's society?
Absolutely.
And our children are suffering from it.
You bet. You bet.
Well, Skinny, also another thing that has changed in my lifetime, and I know definitely really in yours, do you remember any businesses being open on Sunday?
No.
Couldn't do anything on Sunday. Sunday was the Sabbath, and it was a holy day.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing open on Sunday.
And you had to do your shopping, get everything done. And but we really couldn't do anything. Could you do anything except just barely what you had to on Sunday?
That's all. That's all. Usually on Sunday, someone was visiting our house, or we were at someone else's. I had a real good friend over at Zionized, and they come to our church, and we'd just take turn about going home with each other on Sunday. Now, over at his place, there was 4 or 5 other boys from Zionized come up, and we'd have a good little football game. So we enjoyed that.
And you probably found a creek somewhere, or a tank, a pond, cattle pond, to go swimming in, right?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
When we were kids, when we'd get everything done up, right across the pasture was Garner's land, and had a big orchard. And as we'd go through there, we'd pick if the fruit was ripe, we'd pick an apple or a peach, whatever it was, and eat that. And then just below there was Taylor's Tank. Big.
Wasn't that later known as the city tank?
I don't know.
Out there across from Webb Thompson's?
Yeah.
They filled it in, and it's gone.
Yeah. But it was a beautiful place.
I think everybody in town went swimming there.
Probably, and that's what he was talking about a while ago. Sometimes we'd go in shorts, sometimes we'd go in...
Your birthday suit.
Yeah.
Well,
but we had another good one, too, Carter Tank Farm.
Carter? And that's out
It's
of
on
Dillard.
further out.
Oh, it was on further?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where the old Carter Tank Farm used to be. About from Taylor's, probably a mile.
Really?
On up that road.
On up north.
Over the railroad track and then down in the field there.
Oh, and it's
Yeah,
called...
all those places were tanks.
The oil field tank battery?
Yeah.
From the early day oil boom.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll get it out. Oil boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Skinny, do you remember some of the businesses in Wilson and how, remember the Saturdays, the big Saturdays in town?
Yeah.
And how late what time was it at nighttime on Saturday night that the stores closed?
Oh, 10:30, 11. They usually get out around 11, 11:15. But I'll tell you what, the people from the country would come in. See, down where that old football field is, used to be where they bring if they're selling cows.
Oh, a market.
Yeah, well, it was a...
Farmer's produce place, I think.
It was big pens, just like a sale barn over there. Yeah, stockyard. And they'd bring the wagons into them old stockyard, that old stockyard. And they'd load them up early, see. They come in town early, load the wagons, and go down and park them. Mm-hmm. And people were on that street, just nose to nose until around 10:30. And then when they're getting ready for the preview on Saturday night, the movies, well, then people start kind of going on. But the country people, from the country, they'd go down there and get in their way. They didn't have to worry about people coming down there stealing what they had. That wasn't a problem with it. They'd roll them up around 11:30.
What were some of the names of the stores?
Oh, Brymer Brothers, where we traded all the time. They had 4 or 5 barber shops. Homer and Blackie's, Watkins Barber Shop. Ted Finley had one. Then there were 2 big hotels here at one time, and they had a refinery out west of town there, and
In fact, Wilson was a booming town at that time.
absolutely, yeah.
All
Yeah,
the stores were filled and active, and you
Yeah.
didn't see any boarded-up businesses.
That's right. Yeah.
And we had our own doctors, and we even...
Now, Corrina, this was really before me.
Mhm.
See, that was before me.
Mhm.
The refinery and all of that. We had people that worked in that old oil field with teams of horses, mules. That's the way they used to move that equipment around. No trucks, you know. And but if you're interested in that, you can find a lot of people here still living that know that.
It was all about that.
Yeah.
Well, so how has life, Skinny, in the Wilson area, how has it really changed from your childhood to today?
Well, Corrina, I don't know really exactly what to say. Kids at that time, if we'd have said something obscene in a classroom or been disrespectful to a teacher, our backs wouldn't have held shucks. Like I say, they didn't have none of that.
Everyone had respect for the other
bet,
person
you
and the
bet.
other person's property.
I would never think of if you had done something for me, I would never have gone away without thanking you.
Instead of acting like I
Being
owed
as
it to
polite
you.
or as humble and never disrespectful to a woman. We were taught to yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and do what you were told to do. You know, I've been thinking about this a whole lot, but we never left the house that Mother or Daddy wanted didn't say, now, be nice to people. Don't hurt nobody. You know, be good. And when I started playing football, I believe it's the only time I ever really felt free to
not be nice. To really be a mean, tough boy.
That's right.
Because they taught us, you know, you had to be nice and to treat the girls nice.
Yeah.
And be polite. Everything, like you said, was yes ma'am and yes sir.
Yeah.
And no ma'am and no sir.
And girls were taught how to stay in charge.
That's right. That's right. So
And,
there has been a lot of changes in that, and I think a lot of that, like you said, your mother was always home.
Yeah.
And the home-cooked meals, there wasn't any such thing as fast foods. I think nowadays so many of the children are sometimes with babysitters, sometimes a lot of them are home by themselves, called latchkey kids. No one there to supervise.
Yeah.
No one there to extend the love, and then and they don't go to church. So where are they learning this? All they watch is they have the TV, and they're certainly not learning manners or the Ten Commandments on the television.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of ladies that have to work, I'm sure.
Yes.
But their children ought to know where to go when school's out. So I don't necessarily say anything's wrong with that, but
No.
let they work. But that the children ought to know how to be respectful to other people. And a lot of them aren't.
No. Well, Skinny, you went on and you played with for a short time, or were going to drafted by the Washington Redskins,
Yeah.
and then you had an accident that prevented that. And later in life, you were were you in an automobile accident that left you in a wheelchair for years? But you went on to be productive and worked for the Sheriff's Department until you retired.
Yeah.
And then you didn't retire. You came on and you have served as coach here at the Wilson Schools to the youth, and you have served as counselor and advisor to the youth. You have been a great inspiration to the youth here in Wilson. And these youth that you have been an inspiration to have grown up, and now then you're helping their youth, the younger generation, their children.
I hope.
And we greatly appreciate your efforts, Skinny, in the Wilson community, and these children that you have helped and served has gone out, and the influence that you have had upon their lives and the inspiration that you have given them will go out and touch many lives and go forth from Wilson, Oklahoma into the world. And I want I want to thank you for being my guest this week.
I'd have just slipped that in.
Would it be okay to tell the Wilson Eagles to get after the Ringland
Blue
Devils this Friday?
Through the draw, where the oak and black